Hi guys, welcome back. I'm in the fun chair again, in the fun room, and not in the kitchen because I'm not as tired. And this is a really good movie, so I actually want to talk about it. Actually set aside the time. So let's do this. Amreeka, directed by Shireen Dabbis, not sure which one or either. And then starring Nisreen Fowler, also probably saying that wrong, but great actress and great director because this movie is awesome. Came out in 2009, has pretty decent reviews. I think it's got like four out of 5 stars, something like that. Let me see. 7 out of 10. That's honestly doesn't do this justice. 7 out of 10. No. This is an amazing movie, and I'm so excited to talk about it. Specifically today, I think my main points are going to be realism and the amazing effects it has on making just a lovely story, and immigration and all the things that are going on in America right now, because we kind of can't not talk about that when talking about this. So let's get into it. So Amreeka focuses on Muna, a single mother from Palestine who moves to America with her son. She moves in with her sister and her sister's husband, and then her 3 kids. Yeah, 3 girls. That's a short synopsis of the movie, and it's basically like just talking about what it's like to be Palestinian and immigrate to America, and kind of brings up the question: is the American dream still real? Like, what is it like? Grass is always greener on the other side. So let's get into it. First off, I just want to say the fact that Muna ends up working at a White Castle instead of working as like a banker is so realistic. Now, for a little more context, Muna was a banker for 10 years, something like that, back in Palestine before she came to America. But of course, this movie takes place right around 9/11. Yeah, right around 9/11. And, they get discriminated against a lot. And when she's in the job market looking for a job, all these banking places reject her. And so she ends up working at a White Castle. Now, I'm just going to kind of skip around a bit. I think working at the White Castle is supposed to be like this struggle thing, right? Like, oh, you're a failure because you're working there, and you're not going to be able to survive like that. I mean, it's true. You can't. I don't know how much you can really survive off of like a White Castle salary, but I think this little dynamic that it brings up of like, yes, it seems like she's failing, and like, oh, the American dream isn't true. She's not going to have her dream job, all that stuff. From my perspective, as someone who is very poor and struggles, always has, that is a perfectly decent way to live. No, like, the cost of living is like $36 an hour, but like decent in the sense of compared to the way she was living before, which was like constantly getting threatened and checked and having to like drive through like walls and stuff just to get to her house. It's crazy. And I wouldn't say, it's different for sure. I wouldn't say how much better it is. But as someone who's worked in a lot of those crappy jobs, I think in a way that kind of does show the American dream is still true. Not because, like, that isn't the American dream, but it is an American dream. What I'm really trying to get at is that although the American dream is like having this big job and doing all these cool things, I think in reality, if we put both parts together, the struggle and the dream, starting off at that White Castle, moving and doing all that, that is, the dream, not in a good sense, but the reality. And I really like how they showed that in this film. They really showed the realistic progression of, job findings and discrimination and how that affects your workplace and what you can do. They could have made things a lot worse. Like, they could have had, the discrimination was very overt in this movie, especially the scene where the kids are making fun of Muna as she's working at the White Castle. But like, even then, I feel typically in movies, some movies, or maybe short films or just anything, media can portray discrimination as this very overt, like, like calling people slurs right out and saying all these terrible things, like, and not saying they didn't do that in the movie, but it's like, that's the whole idea of racism. When in reality, it's all those small things like not getting jobs, getting some stairs at the grocery store, kids getting picked on more. There's still big things, but it's less overt and it's less blunt. And the realism in this movie really captures both the real blunt sides of racism, but also those subtle, like the subtleness. And like, it's not just about what happens, but it's about the feeling you get. You're out of place. It's that feeling that you are not safe and you're not at home. And I think Muna really struggles with that in the movie, and it's really real. It's not super super dramatic, but it's just reality. And I like that. And I think too, the positives that they showed and how they showed it were just wonderful. Like, the kid hanging out, Muna's son hanging out with his cousin, and learning how to dress new and stuff. It shows like the societal pressure to fit in, but it also kind of shows those bonding moments that you can gain from stepping into new territory, I think. Same thing with Muna, her little maybe dynamic with the principal, just creating an air of hope. And I think that's really what this movie does well, is balances out hope and reality. It shows us the realistic struggles and then the hope that people build around that. And the important thing about the realistic struggles is that you can manage them. Just because the problem doesn't go away doesn't mean it won't. And I know a lot of people right now are struggling, and it's hard and it sucks, and there's a lot of problems with our institution right now and the people who are in power, and there's a lot of things that are going to continue getting worse, and it's scary, but it's manageable. Because I think when I talk to my friends like who have immigrated from India or have immigrated from Saudi Arabia, we are so privileged to be able to choose what we do, to choose who we love, and to choose how we want to live. Choose in comparison, And although the privilege could always be more and our rights should be greater, there is still that something here in America that does allow at least a semblance of freedom. Again, take a step back. We're living under an oligarchy and the powers or whatever. But in the more hopeful, positive light, I do think there is still some dream there, Yeah.